I'm Ty Raines for Community 10 Television, and I am back here with Len Skowronski, who is the leader of the Alberta Social Credit Party. And we are having our fourth discussion in a series on the Social Credit Party. And today we are going to be discussing what Albertans can do to regain control of our resources. First, Len, can you please highlight the points from our last three discussions that we covered?
Okay, I'd be glad to. The highlight of parts 1 and 3 are: money does not have any value on its own. It is only has value when it is traded for goods or services. Enough money must be available to provide the goods and services for all members of a society to have a good standard of living. The Bank of Canada was established to create the money needed by Canadians. The creation and distribution of money has slipped to the private banks. As a result, individuals and governments are paying billions of dollars in interest to these banks. We would mandate the Alberta Treasury Branch to provide the capital Albertans need to establish a thriving economy. We would have the ATB provide loans to Albertans at prime plus a small surcharge. In order to do this, we would use our collateral in the oil sands. There are an estimated 1.5 trillion barrels of oil in our oil sands, but we are not getting the most out of this wealth. We could lose $24 million by exporting bitumen instead of upgraded synthetic crude oil. We could lose an additional $12 trillion as investment dividends paid to foreign investors. So if we took control of our credits, such as the oil sands, the resulting wealth would provide for our social needs, such as healthcare, education, senior support, communication, transportation, energy, shelter, and food. And that's social credit. We would also, one of the steps here is we would provide prime rate mortgage from the ATB to mortgagers, and this could save at least $226,000 to an average home mortgage. So that's what we covered in the last three sessions.
All right, thank you very much. Now, a major concern for many citizens of Alberta is that we no longer have control of our resources because many of them are owned by foreign investors, and every day more and more of them are being sold to foreign investors. So what will the Social Credit Party be doing to bring that control away from foreign investors and ownership and back into the hands of Albertans?
Yes, we must regain control of our resource wealth. Now, as I mentioned in the previous sessions, we are losing a lot of money by not upgrading bitumen. If we were upgrading all the bitumen into synthetic crude oil that is now being exported, this could add over $20 billion a year to our economy. Building the upgrader plants could provide thousands of jobs during the building phase and billions to our economy. In addition, each plant would have about 1,000 jobs for continued operation. So we're saying we must stop exporting bitumen. And even the bitumen we are exporting, we must give notice to these companies that over a certain period of time, they must build the upgrader plants in Alberta, and there will come a time when we will only be exporting synthetic crude oil and not bitumen. Now, a lot of companies say, well, we're not big enough, we don't have the capital, we don't have the workers, we don't have the expertise to build and operate these plants. Our solution is that we should create a company called the Alberta Bitumen Upgrading Company. And this company would be modeled along the lines of the Alberta Gas Trunk Line Company that was established under the sponsorship of the social credit government in the 1950s. At that time, we had discovered a lot of natural gas in northern Alberta, but there were no pipelines to export it. So the Alberta government got hold of the main producers of the gas and said, okay, let's form a company that will build these pipelines. And each of you producers will have an option to buy into this company, invest some of your capital. Also, every Albertan would have a first shot at buying shares. And so would the Alberta government and the Alberta Treasury branch. As a result, the pipelines were built, and the Albertans who bought into this company made huge profits. And a lot of university graduates are now beholden to the amount of money their parents made from the profits on these shares. So this kind of a venture could be done for upgrading bitumen, and I would be quite safe to say that any Alberta investors would likewise make huge profits by investing in it. Anyway, we would form this company, and so none of these other companies that don't have upgraders, currently there are upgraders. Some of the companies that initially went in there, initially the mandate of these companies was that you must go all the way and produce synthetic crude oil. So Suncor and Syncrude, two of the companies that were in there initially, are doing upgrading. But the rest of them, under Klein and other people, he let them say, okay, we don't need to do the upgrading. And so what are they going to do? What are they doing? They're exporting bitumen, and the upgraders are in the U.S., and the U.S. is making this extra $40 a barrel. I mean, this is ridiculous. So, as I said the last time, we could make billions, trillions of dollars extra if we just required them to upgrade. And all we have to do is say that's the rule. If you don't like it, somebody else will do it. You just have to be tough. Now, in order to distribute the wealth that would be gained from upgrading throughout Alberta, we say that we should build plants right across Alberta. And we are recommending that at least one bitumen upgrading plant be built near each of Fort McMurray, Grand Prairie, Edmonton, Red Deer, Calgary, and Lethbridge. So all of these major cities and all the locale around them would benefit from the building, and the building of an upgrading plant will create about 5,000 jobs for 5 years. And then you're going to have 1,000 jobs just as long as the plants exist. So that could be a boon to all of these municipal economies. And just think of the extra taxes that the municipalities would have to provide the services. Now, another thing to do with our resource wealth, one of the few things that Premier Ed Stelmach did was when he called to have a royalty review. And I know that this was needed because I have seen how the people in the Middle East and Africa, how much more money they are making than we are. So he called this review. It was well done, and the recommendations somewhere put us in the middle of the countries throughout the world, not on the top, like some of the countries in the Middle East are getting. Like some of them are they're giving the oil companies 8% and they're keeping 92%. Here, on average, we're giving the oil companies 85% and we're keeping 15%. It's just the opposite. Anyway, it was a good deal, but what happened? Well, the oil companies said, oh, well, we're going to pull out our investment. But at that time also, because of the market crash in the States, oil went down to $40 a barrel from 147. So it was more because of the low cost of oil that they weren't going to invest than the increase in royalties. But most of the parties took up the cause for more royalties, except the Wild Rose Alliance. And so the oil and gas companies keyed into the Wild Rose Alliance and sort of started giving all of their political contributions there. And this made the PC scared, so they backed off on the royalties. As a result, we're losing $1 billion a year from what we would have if we would have kept our royalty rates where the review had put them. Now, and who is benefiting from this back off? It's mostly multinational. It's not the small producers, the Alberta-owned producers. Well, what we say should have been done is we should have kept the royalties up there and taken that extra $1 billion and made a drilling investment fund. So this would be loaned out to Alberta-owned, small Alberta-owned companies. So they would have had all the capital they needed. So if the big companies pulled out, we would have had our own companies in there because we would have given them the money. And as soon as that happened, these big companies would have been back. We have to get tough. And other countries like Norway, even all of the OPEC countries have become tough when dealing with oil and gas. And we have PCs, pussycats. So after, this would cause our junior oil and gas companies to grow up into medium and even large companies. And then eventually we wouldn't have to depend on the foreign-controlled multinationals. And to regulate the investment, we really, when we're investing in exploration and production plays of these small companies, we need some sort of a company to actually evaluate if these are good investments. And so as a result, we say we should also have a provincial crown corporation called the Alberta Oil and Gas Corporation to look over this drilling fund. We did have at one time, we had Alberta Energy, which was created to look after investments in the Suffield block. And this was started by Peter Lougheed, who was not a bad premier, even though he was PC. And then when Klein came in, he privatized this thing, and it's now part of Encana. So these are some of the things we would do to regain control of our wealth. We must do that, because now it's just being given away to the foreigners.
Thank you very much for your insights once again, Len. And the next time when we speak, we will be talking about giving Albertan citizens the health care that they want and the education they deserve. Is this correct?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you very much today. This has been Ty Raines for Community 10 Television.